Mr. President,
The Democratic
are we
leader.
in a quorum?
We are.
I ask unanimous consent the quorum be dispensed with.
Without objection.
Well, Mr. President, over the weekend, President Trump launched a series of insults at Democratic Congresswomen, suggesting they go back to the countries they came from, despite the fact that 3 of the 4 were born in the United States, and that citizenship in America, by birth or naturalization, is inherently equal and has been for centuries. These lawmakers are women of color. Telling them to go back to their countries is one of the oldest and crudest tropes to malign non-white Americans. The president's comments drip with racism. We don't know why the president woke up on Saturday and made these comments. Perhaps to distract from his administration's barbaric immigration policy, which rips children away from their parents, even little children. Perhaps to distract from the humanitarian crisis he has exacerbated at our border. And perhaps to detract from his planned but not really executed deportation raids, which many in his own bureaucracy do not want to carry out and feel are difficult to carry out in a fair way because they can't be done fairly. Perhaps it's even to distract from his administration's attempt to dismantle our healthcare system through the courts. But maybe the president just feels comfortable stoking racial divisions in this country. Maybe that's his milieu. After all, this is part of the pattern of behavior that began with the birther treatment of President Obama and his characterization of Mexicans in his announcement speech, continued with his attack on an American-born judge of Mexican descent, his proposed Muslim ban, and response to Charlottesville, and includes comments about Caribbean and African nations that cannot be repeated here on the floor of the Senate. Whatever the reason, whatever the motivation, the president's comments demand condemnation from all corners of the political spectrum, all corners. But it's become frighteningly common for many of my Republican colleagues to let these moments sail by without saying even a word. Republican leadership, especially, rarely criticizes the president directly, even in a situation like this that so clearly merits it. So I'm left to wonder if the silence of many Republicans in the wake of President Trump's xenophobic tweets is out of embarrassment or agreement. Embarrassment or agreement. Both are inexcusable. Some of my Republican colleagues are hoping that the president realizes the error of his ways, they said, disavows or deletes his tweets from yesterday. But the president just walked out of the White House a few hours ago and doubled down on his racist comments. My Republican friends, he's not backing off. Where are you when something this serious, this bigoted, this un-American happens? If you're saying to yourselves, well, he got us our big tax cut, well, he's taking regulations off big corporations, well, he pulled out of the Paris Accords, we have to go along with this racism, you're making a deal with the devil. It's so wrong, so wrong. The President of the United States is supposed to bring this country together. It's clear this president won't, doesn't want to, and revels in dividing us. No American president has done this. No American president has resorted to open and bald-faced bigotry so often. His goal, President Trump's goal, sadly, is not to unite, but to divide. That's how he's climbed the ladder politically, and it is just awful. So it's incumbent on all of us, Democrat and Republican, to call him out when he does this and remind the President and the country what America truly stands for. Anything short of that is insufficient and is un-American. It could be argued that Republicans who fail to do so because of shame, because they're afraid of offending the President's supporters, because they're afraid of the President, or worse, because they agree with the President, those who fail to condemn the President are fellow travelers on the President's racist road, whatever their motivation. Speaker Pelosi has said that the House will introduce a resolution denouncing the President's comments. Our intention is to do the same in the Senate. We'll see, we'll just see, how many Republicans will sign on. On another matter, last Friday, in an overwhelming bipartisan vote, I'm happy to say, the House reauthorized the 9/11 Victims' Compensation Fund and made it virtually permanent. I want to thank all my colleagues in the House. And above all, I want to commend the first responders for their advocacy in support of this legislation. The first responders are the heroes of this story. They are the Washingtons and the Madisons and Monroes of the 21st century, the great Americans, each in their own modest way. Not only did they rush to the towers on that fateful day, risking their lives to save others, but then when the illnesses started coming upon them, even though many of them were sick, they came to Washington and fought tirelessly for their brothers and sisters who might get sick in the future. Zadroga and Field, Pfeiffer and Alvarez, these are the names of American heroes. They represent the greatness of America. We should honor them now by passing the House bill to reauthorize the Victim Compensation Fund as soon as possible. No more delays, no strings attached, no waiting for some other must-pass vehicle to attach it to. The bill passed the House with such overwhelming bipartisan support that it deserves a clean vote here in the Senate. I would say to my friend, Republican Leader McConnell, if it's good enough for Leader McCarthy and Whip Scalise, who voted for it, surely it's good enough for the Republican leader in the Senate. Only 12 voted against it. So many very conservative Republicans, many Tea Party Republicans, voted for the bill in the House. That bill is the bill that should be brought to the floor, brought here quickly. It'll pass overwhelmingly and could be on the President's desk, certainly in the next week. If Leader McConnell would put this bill on the floor this week, it would pass this week. It would go to the President's desk this week, be signed into law this week, and we could put this issue to rest this week once and for all. We can't put the illnesses to rest. Those first responders, many of whom have gotten ill, too many of whom have passed away, and many more of whom have these illnesses in their bodies, but they don't even know it yet. They could then do their job of helping heal their fellow first responders and helping heal themselves and looking after their families. They wouldn't have to keep coming down here. So, we need to move this bill quickly. I urge Leader McConnell once again, put the bill on the floor. Honor those brave first responders who are no different than our soldiers, than our armed forces, who rush to danger and risk their lives for us and our freedom. Put it on the floor. We can get this done. We can get it done this week. I yield the floor.